So as a continuation, the narrative description of the procedures in payroll as presented in the previous discussion, the DFD. So the personal department will prepare the personal action form. So this is an authorization document. This provides evidence that the employee itself or the employee himself exists. So the important information in the personal action form, there are various information, but the important one of the most important information is the pay rate, okay, the deductions and the job classification. For the production department, so two documents originate from it: the job tickets, which contain the details of the job spent or nature of the job spent by uh, the employee, and then so this is the basis of cost accounting for charging costs to WIP. And then for the time card, so you can see here the total hours work for the period, which is the basis for preparing the payroll, the paycheck. As for the updating of WIP account, this is done by the cost accounting department, in which the information posted in the WIP or encoded in the WIP accounts come from the job tickets. And then from the posting, the cost accounting will summarize it, will prepare the labor distribution summary, in which it contains the costs in WIP to be forwarded to the GL. So this serves as the equivalent of the GB. Okay? Instead of GB, the GL will receive the labor distribution summary, which will be the basis of the posting of the entry of debit WIP, credit wages payable. So here is an example of the personal action form. So the important information here that is needed by the specifically payroll department in processing the payroll is of course, the name of the employee to determine if he is an existing or valid employee. Okay, here. And then another important thing is the salary. Okay, here, which is P, uh, which is one of the most important information here from the personal action form. And you can also look at the new salary so that the payroll will be updated as to which pay rate will it apply. As for the job tickets, so the important information here is that, of course, the employee name here, and then the details of the work done, the machine, the number of pieces. So as a basis for the charges to the direct labor and or indirect labor. Okay. A sample of the time cards. So the total hours work for the period. Okay. In this case, on a per day basis can be seen here. Okay. Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. As a continuation of the description of the narratives pertaining to the payroll system or payroll procedures in relation to the DFD. So we now go to one of the most important parts of the process, the actual preparation of the payroll done by the payroll department. So as you can see here, there are two important information or data which serve as input for the payroll process. First set is the pay rate and withholding data from the personal department. So these come from the personal action forms, and then the hours work coming from the time cards from the production. As for the employee payroll record, so it's mentioned here that it's a system used to calculate, track, and report employee pay. Basically, these payroll records contain the records for each employee. Two most important information are the total hours work to date and total salaries to date. This is the basis actually of the preparation of the annual ITR. Okay. And the payroll register, this shows the gross pay, deduction, overtime, net pay of all employees per each employee. Okay. As mentioned in the earlier slide, that the payroll register serves as the AP packet. Okay. So you have your AP packet consisting of the sales invoice, or rather supplier's invoice, receiving report and PO for the general expenditure, as a basis for the AP, then the payroll register is the basis for the accounts payable also for the payroll process. And then same with the other departments in the expenditure and revenue cycle. So after they perform their tasks, they file or the department files the documents it received from the other departments. In this case, the time cards coming from the production, personal action forms coming from the personnel, and then they also file a copy of the documents. Uh, it files a copy of the documents it prepared. The next is the distribution of paycheck to the employees. So we will discuss that into detail, specifically on controls related to that. And then the preparation of the accounts payable. Considering that it is mentioned here that it uses cash disbursement voucher, so compared to the general expenditure procedure, so it uses the vouchers payable system. As for the cash disbursement, so the important or the keyword here is the Payroll Impress account. So the cash disbursement will prepare a single check to fund the Payroll Impress account or the payroll cash account. So the money will come from the general cash account. So basically, when the cash disbursement does this check and performs the activity, then the related recording will actually be a debit to your Payroll Impress account or payroll cash account and a credit to your cash general account. And then, similar with the general expenditure procedure, the cash disbursement will send a copy of the check or the check copy to the AP to close the payable, the AP in the general expenditure cycle, the salaries or wages payable in the payroll procedure, and then the voucher will be prepared and sent to the GL for the entries. So this is the example of the payroll ledger. As you can see here, you can see the employees payroll details. You can see the gross pay, the deductions, and the net pay. So, and each employee uh, will have its own the information on the gross pay, deductions, and net pay for each employee for the period will be shown here. Actually, if you get one item, this is equivalent to the pay slip of an individual employee, in which this pay slip will be received by that employee. Okay, so this is the payroll register. As for the employee payroll record, compared to the payroll register, the payroll register contains only the gross pay, the deduction and net pay for a specific period and for all employees. As for the employee payroll record, this is also on a per employee basis, but you can see here, of course, the details of the individual, um, the payroll period, the name here, and then the important portion here is that you can see here the quarter to date information and the year to date, both for the number of hours, okay, and for the amount. Okay, so basically these you can see here the employee payroll record, the running balance of the total hours work and total salaries of the employee for in this case for the quarter or this for the year. Then for the paycheck, so these systems generated, you can see here at the upper portion, actually the details of the uh, payroll, okay, or payroll information. Actually, this can serve as your payslip. And then at the bottom portion here is your paycheck, perforated paycheck. Okay. For this slide, we now go to the updating of the GL. Of course, when we speak of updating the GL, we're concerned about the entries. But first, we look on to the documents or the departments, both the documents and departments that are of concern for the GL function and GL department because these departments will give the specific documents which will be the basis of the entries. So technically, will be the GL will receive the GL department will receive three documents: the labor distribution summary from the cost accounting, and then the cash disbursement voucher using a vouchers payable system from the AP, and then the journal voucher from the cash disbursement. Okay. As you can see here, there are two entries. Okay. The first set of entry is in setting up your payable, the basis of which is the labor distribution summary, not the journal voucher, which is the usual basis of any entries posting in the GM. So debit WIP or factory overhead, credit wages payable. Actually, if you look at it, if you look at the total manufacturing cost, uh, both the direct labor and direct labor will form part of the WIP. Okay, probably since this is a COM4 course, that's why they are not familiar with the entries. But basically, both the direct labor and the overhead will form part of the WIP. Okay, and then the second entry is the wages payable, debit, credit, cash, and also the other payables in which they are considered as payables because they are not they are withheld and will be given to the respective entities like the government, the BIR, or the specific agencies, government agencies, even the union dues here. Okay, in UST for the faculty members, we call that as check off. Portion of our salaries are deducted from us, which forms part of the fund of the faculty union. Okay, so basically you have two entries, but you have three documents. So the labor distribution summary here is the basis of the entry for the payable, and then for the disbursement voucher, this is the base of the entry of the debit wages payable credit cash. But I think the journal voucher also serves or also is also related to the entry on the disbursement. Actually, if you look at it closely, it was not presented by the author, but in connection with the earlier discussions of the payroll impress account, in which when the cash disbursement prepares a single check, it funds the payroll account coming from its general operating fund or general cash account. If you look at it closely, so we actually have three entries. The first entry is this one, the labor distribution summary. And then the second entry would be, so our second entry would be if we fund the payroll impress account, so the payroll, so I'll just use initials, the payroll impress account. So you debit that. So debit. So sorry, medyo mabagal. The payroll impress account. Okay, credit your cash, which is a general account. Cash general account. Okay. Oh, sorry. So cash general account. As you can see here, when the cash disbursement department prepares the single check, so there's a transfer from the payroll from the general cash account to the payroll account in form as if the company disbursed funds or cash, but in substance, there's only a fund transfer. Okay, the actual cash is disbursed in the third entry. Okay, when the employee encashes the check, okay, the actual entry will now be debit every time. Debit wages payable, credit, not simply cash, but to be specific, the payroll impress account. Assuming that all employees will get their salaries, which should be technically the payroll impress account will close. It's a form of control because whenever the payroll impress account will have balance, so it is not closed or it does not zero out. For example, it contains similar amounts every pay period. Most probably, there is something wrong. Okay, it may be an indication of a fraud there that an individual related with the payroll or related with the department wherein the employees are related to uh, probably the supervisor is performing a payroll fraud in which it prepares a non-existent employee and gets the cash similar to that. Okay. Uh, but technically, if you look at it, if it is properly done, okay, the payroll impress account will close out here and here, leaving the original entry of for the first entry, so no changes. So debit with credit, wages payable, then credit, wages payable, debit, wages payable and credit the cash, the general account. So that is how it works, okay, for the entries, okay. Just to show you that there's really a second entry in which funds are transferred from the cash general account to the payroll impress account.